Time for water pump. Okay, this is a tin gasket, and it's got a couple layers of it. You do not use sealer on this, because if you use sealer, then most likely it's going to leak. So do not use any sealer on this type of gasket. Use a paper gasket, that's fine. It's a single tin, that's fine, but if it's a double stack, triple stack, no. Okay, so we're gonna put the gasket on there and then the water pump. I'm gonna snug up some of the bolts, and don't forget about the little dowels sticking out. Make sure you get the water pump in those. Okay, the water pump is snugged up. Now you put your thermostat in. Put the thermostat in with the little vent on the top. And also, now's the time to hook up your little hose, if you have it, at the bottom of the water pump. And put on a new hose clamp and tighten it up. And now you can put the thermostat housing outlet on with your nuts and snug them up. All right, water pump torque is 14 foot-pounds or 168 inch-pounds. Also, don't forget about your little bracket. It goes underneath this nut for the wire harness. And next we can put in is the dipstick tube. It goes in this hole and bolts up over here, okay? Put some sealer around the base of it and stick it in there. Okay, get your water pump bolted up. You got all them bolts snugged up. Put your thermostat in with the vent up on top. Put your dipstick tube in, put a new O-ring on it, and put some silicone around the base, and put your little bolt back in here, tighten it up. Now you can put your thermostat outlet on here with the 3 nuts, and then snug them up, and then you can torque all your bolts and your nuts to 168 inch-pounds or 14 foot-pounds. Before you get plumb crazy with torquing this, make sure you put this bracket on here underneath the nut over the dipstick tube. It doesn't fit behind it, it goes over it, and this goes down behind it like that. So take note of it, okay? Put it on like that. All right. Okay, I put the wrench on there, which is a 17. I turned it. Gave me a lot more slack down here. Now I'm gonna put my tensioner pulley down in there. Inside my tensioner pulley, there's a groove. What you wanna do is put some Sil Glide in there, or a little bit of grease, and that'll be fine. And then put your bolt back in. And make sure you do not lose this washer. It's like a little spacer, okay? And put your bolt back in there. Stick it through there. Then you want to put a little bit of red Loctite on there, just a little bit. Okay, put the tensioner pulley in there, make sure it moves. Tighten it up to 25 foot-pounds. Make sure it still turns, okay? And make sure it goes down inside that hole. You need all the extra room you can get. And then route your belt in there, just route it in there, okay? And then next we're going to get as much play or belt down inside here so you can put this idler on, okay? And make sure you put a little bit of red Loctite on your idler bolt, okay? First, what you do is you grab hold of the belt right here with your left hand, pull it tight, work it all the way around this gear. So it's tight onto that gear, and that gear is lined up with the marks. Put a small pair of vice grips right there to hold it in place. Push it down, keep your hand pushing down on that. Go over here to this gear. It's gonna be kind of tight on it. So now you just, what you do is you put your wrench on there, 17, and you tighten it up that way. That takes as much slap out of here as possible. And you can push this belt down and get this idler pulley in there. Get it started. And once you get it started, That's when you need to go and double check. What you want to do is you want to run this down, and then you want to go around here and double check all your settings and make sure they're right on the money. Don't torque it down yet, because you might have to remove it and readjust it. All right, when you got the belt on there, double check that this is right on the money, and make sure that this one's right on the money. And look all the way over here to the tip. Make sure it's equal with the indentation. Okay, and then feel this. They're both good. And then look at that with that, which is darn good. Which is, it's probably, it's most likely it's like right there on the money. And there's a little bit of slack there, and that the tension is going to take that up. What you need to do is take your wrench, your 19 on there, back it up a little bit, like that, and pull it down, and double check it. Make sure it's on the money there. Make sure you're tight there. Don't want to go back too far because you might jump a notch. So just be careful. All right, it's looking good. I'm gonna torque this one. 25 or 20 foot-pounds. I can't remember which one it is. Tensioner and idler bolt is 20 foot-pounds, just to verify. Time for your tensioner. Put your tensioner in there, and this goes into the little notch hole. Make sure the pin is not sticking all the way through. Going to restrict you from pushing it all the way up in there. Okay, the bolts are exactly the same length, so you need to put that up in there, snug them both up, and then you want to torque them. You want to torque them to what was that? That was 168 inch-pounds or 14 foot-pounds. Okay, now that you get the tensioner in there, now you can pull the tensioner pin out. Get a pair of needle nose pliers and get in there. Okay, now that you got the pin out, put your 19 millimeter wrench on here, back it up a little bit, get some of the slack out of it that way. Pull it back the other way, and pull it back, and then line the bottom up, crank. Check it out down there. Check that one out. Check that one out. They all look good. Sounds good. Okay. Take the crank bolt out. Another thing I need to notice is this washer. Make sure it's on there, and make sure it's on the keyway. If it's not on the keyway, then you're not going to be able to put your dampener on properly. So make sure that washer's on the keyway. Okay. So get the bolt out, put that little cover back on. Okay, don't forget about your little metal bracket. After you get your little cover on in the front, and then put your center support on. Make sure the bearing's good on that. Remember the 3 bolts. And make sure you put this bracket inside that hole. Put your time belt cover on. Now we're going to put the dampener in. The dampener bolt torque is 180 foot-pounds. Make sure you line up the keyway on the dampener. Otherwise, you're going to run into a problem because of that washer. Remember I showed you the washer? All right, now I'm going to put the belts on. I put this pulley on there, and I put some nuts on there just to hold it. It's a little loose, but at least I can get the belts on. Okay, I got all my belts on. Okay, so now I'll take these nuts off, and I'll put my fan in there, and I'll tighten it up, and it'll make it a little bit tighter too. Now it's time for my radiator. Okay, radiator is in. Hook up your lines. Hook up your lower radiator hose. And next I'm going to do, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start it, see if it runs, and then I'm going to shut it off. All right, it runs good. A little noisy because of the pulley, but other than that, Sounded good. Just got my battery again. Remove the 2 nuts, put my fan shroud in, and then put my fan in and put my nuts on them. Put your skid plate back on underneath. Okay, all the fan nuts are tight. Upper air hose is on and tight. Now all I'm gonna do is put some coolant in it, put my dipstick back in it, tighten my battery cable, let it run, get it hot, make sure the coolant level is correct, and that'll be it, and it's done. If I helped you with this video, that's awesome. Hopefully you can help me by subscribing, and thank you.